Hi guys! I've been making cake toppers since 2017 when I returned from maternity leave, and it's something that I've got quite a bit of knowledge in. I thought that it would be a great time to show you exactly how I make my cake toppers so you can have a go yourself. Let's jump in. Way back when I first started, I started with really simple text-based only toppers. Then I moved on to silhouette and text, before finally coming up with my favourite, the 3D layered cake toppers with pom-poms. These are my absolute favourite to make, even though they're really time consuming. One of the biggest issues that I found when making glitter-based card cake toppers was finding a glitter cardstock that was low shed and thick enough to stand up tall on your cake. No one wants bits of extra glitter stuck in their frosting, and definitely nobody wants a cake topper that is flopping all over the place before you've even got through the first verse of Happy Birthday. Over the years, I've tried many different manufacturers of this glitter cardstock. Some have been great, some have been terrible, and some have been so good that I've used them until sadly they've stopped producing and the manufacturers went bust. Now, however, I am delighted to be trying out cardstock from my favourite supplier, Paper Cutz. As you can see, Paper Cutz have a great range of colours. These are just the ones that I've been sent to try, and I can assure you that they both cut like a dream on my cutters. They've also got these really cool mirrored and holographic finishes too. I've got so many here, I can barely hold them up. They are really heavy. I think we need to make some cake toppers together so you can see just how perfect these cut and assemble. Let's start by making some cute little baby shower cupcake toppers in Silhouette Studio. Although I use my Time Graphic silver bullet cutter for most of my cake toppers, I wanted to demonstrate how well this mirror cardstock cuts on the Silhouette Cameo too. We're going to start with a blank design page of A4. Next, I'm going to add some text. If you're anything like me, I have thousands of commercial fonts, so picking one can be a bit time consuming. The tools that I use for this are Font Squirrel, who have an amazing selection of free commercial fonts. Having a commercial license means that in most cases you're free to sell anything made with them, but you'll need to double check the licenses just to make sure. Now, once you have this font selection, it can take forever to select one that you like. That's where I use WordMarket. You're able to type in the phrase that you'd like to use in the search box, then select your fonts to see not just system fonts, but the ones that you've downloaded to your device too. You may have to accept some terms and conditions, but then it should load. Scroll through and find some fonts that you like the look of, and press the little plus sign to be able to compare all your selected fonts in a minute. I like to combine both bold fonts and a cursive font, but you can pick fonts that work for you. Just remember that cursive fonts are much easier to weld when it comes to creating your cupcake toppers, while some fonts that have textured edges won't work well at all. Once you've found your chosen fonts, head back to Silhouette or your chosen design space. Using the text tool, add your text. Remember, if you want two different font styles, to add text twice rather than all in one, as it will make it easier to move the independent designs later on. You can alter the font by highlighting and using the text window on the right. I'm going for Bernard MT Condensed for the word baby, and then Bermuda Script for the words GBG. Now you have both of them on there, you can play around with the size and the layout. Remember, you want to have all letters joined together with no weak spots, otherwise your design won't hold together when it's cut. I like to use the alignment tools to make sure that the lines are central to each other. Now it's time to add in what I call the structural supports. Using the rectangle tool on the left, draw little rectangles to join any floating letters together. You also need to make sure the lines are joined together securely. If you have any lowercase I or J's, you need to remember to secure their tittle, the little dot, to the lower part of the letter. You can also manipulate the nose to get them to join on an overlap, but there's always a risk that you'll distort the shape of the letters too much, so I find this way easier. Once you're confident the design has enough structural supports, you can select the text and shapes and then use the Weld tool. This now makes all the multiple shapes into a single one. Now is also a good time to check that everything is connected, and repeat the structural support step if you need to. Decide on how big you'd like your cupcake toppers and then use the resize tool to change it to that size. Now we need to decide if we'd like a double-sided design. If you do, go to the replicate window and press mirror. Now I have sized my designs, I'm going to fill my page with them. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Silhouette does technically have an autofill tool, but it's not great. You can fit more in by duplicating yourself. Move the designs to the top left and then go back to the replicate window. Use these tools to fill your entire page with the designs. Now it's time to decide on a colour. The amazing Paper Cutz have so many different colours available and even different finishes that I am definitely spoiled for choice on this one. I think I'm going to go for rose gold. It's a fairly neutral colour, everybody loves it, and I think it will be perfect for these baby shower cake toppers. Now I need to load it into the cutting machine. I've had a play around with the settings for the Silhouette Cameo and Paper Cutz Holographic and Mirror Cardstock, and I found that a force of 20 and a blade of 3, speed 4, with 2 passes and overcut on works well. Now we send it to the machine. I'm not going to lie, it helps if you make sure that you line up the cutting mat properly so that the edge of the design doesn't go off the edge of the paper. Obviously these are just demo ones and I'm not planning to sell these, but you can see just how cleanly the mirror card has cut, even though the design has gone slightly off the edge of the cutting mat. You need to go really slowly here, just whilst you're peeling. So we're going for this middle row here. You want to take it nice and slow, and I have my little spatula here to just gently lift up the design from the sticky cutting mat. It works best if it's not a new cutting mat, which this one is, because sometimes they can be a little bit too sticky and can then cause issues when you're trying to take it off the mat. If you own a Silhouette, I'm guessing you already know the basics of tracing, so I'm going to quickly add some baby embellishments without going into lots of details. It's important to think about what colours go well together when you're creating cupcake toppers like this. Traditional is obviously pink or blue, but some parents don't know the gender and it can be cute to add both colours. I always give my customers a choice so they can match it to their party theme. I use hot glue for my cupcake toppers and food-safe bamboo picks. This means they can be inserted into a cake without risk of contamination. I've toyed with getting a precision tip for my glue gun, but the reviews that I've seen online are mixed and some say that they don't really make too much of a difference. If anyone does have a good one, I'd love to know. You need to use enough glue so that it sticks, but not so much that it actually squeezes out everywhere. I like to use the lines on my cutting mat here to make sure that the skewers are in straight. This is perfect for bigger designs where you really don't want them at an angle. If you have a back to the design, now is the time to place it. So I like to start by lining it up like this, and luckily there's still a little bit of adhesive on here from the cutting mat. And then most importantly, you need to see what it looks like from the front. And once you're happy, you can add just some tiny bits of hot glue to keep it in place. You're going to get little tails with the hot glue, but once they've cooled down, they are very easy to remove. Don't need to go overboard. Just a few little pieces will keep it in place. Cupcake toppers are definitely trickier to stick down a back to just because of their size. I always offer the option to my customers though, but just make sure that you charge accordingly. These turned out super cute. Look at that sparkle. I really like how the hollow and mirror effect catches the light, and I think that they are the perfect way to liven up either homemade or store-bought cupcakes. Now, let's make a cake topper with the glitter cardstock. For my detailed cake toppers, I prefer to use my Time Graphics silver bullet cutter with the Sure Cuts A Lot program. I'm going to be honest though, outside of the specialist Facebook groups for this cutter and software, I've never really come across anyone else who uses it. So I'm going to zoom through the process. Sure Cuts A Lot is similar in a lot of ways to Silhouette Studio, but it has less design bells and whistles. Just like the Silhouette, you can buy all sorts of specialist tools to work with this machine, like engravers, hot foil tips, and obviously pens. It doesn't have an automatic laser reader like the Silhouette, but I actually have less issues with the print and cut on this machine, as it's easy to calibrate and you manually tell the machine where each guide point is, so there's less margin for error. Although most of the elements of my llama cake topper are made from glitter, the saddle and neck decoration are made using print and cut. I have, however, tested this glitter cardstock, and it cuts perfectly well on my Silhouette Studio. I'd recommend a blade depth of 4, force of 28, speed of 4, double cut and overcut on. If you do actually use a Sure Cuts A Lot, then the settings for my silver bullet cutting machine with glitter is force 113, speed 150 millimeters a second, up speed is 300 millimeters a second, overcut 1 millimeter and multi-cut 2. Because glitter can dull a Silhouette blade quite quickly, I definitely recommend having a separate blade that you use just for glitter. I'm lucky with my Time Graphics machine because it has a specific holder that you're able to replace the blades with. We just pop one out here now so you can see. These replaceable blades work out at less than £1 each. That's per blade. This has saved me hundreds, if not thousands of pounds over the years when you compare them with the cost of the Silhouette blades. This is definitely the fun part of the whole process. I have to figure out exactly where each part needs to be attached and work from the bottom up. As you can see, I'm using a combination of hot glue and glue stick to make my topper. Lastly, I add the cute little pom-poms to really make him pop. I think he's turned out really cute. I love his 3D pom-poms and the colours just look fantastic. The glitter itself has cut really well and it adds a definite sparkle to any cake. If you are going to be selling your cake toppers, you need to think about how you're going to post them. For me, I would definitely recommend sending them with a mount board as it just helps protect them. If you want to make your own branded in-house, then I would highly recommend the Paper Cutz 300 GSM in both the matte and the glossy. It not only prints beautifully, but it's rigid enough to support your cake toppers. About the cake toppers is that they are super easy to use. You just need to gently push them down. You can either decide if you'd like them to sit proud of the cake, or if you've got a slightly shallower cake, trim them down and they sit flush. I think that these cake toppers, especially the 3D ones, just add a little extra element to your cakes, and as I just demonstrated, they are so easy to use. And what little girl, or boy for that matter, wouldn't love to have their own very special llama sitting on top of their cake? Just look how that cake has been transformed from a boring plain white one to a rather funky one. I send all of my cake toppers boxed flat. This just protects them during shipping, and this is an A4 DL size box. As you can see, I add my little logo sticker on there, and then for the cake topper itself, it's sent in my candy stripe bag with a little sticker, which, as you already know, I use the Paper Cutz adhesive sheets for. This will go with a little thank you note to the customer, thanking them for supporting my small business. So there you have it. Paper Cutz have some fantastic specialist card finishes to help you make the perfect cake topper. And with their range of other cardstock and paper accessories, you can really get your branding on point. As always, I'll drop all the links in the description box for the items that I've used in this video, so check them out. I'd really like to hear if you have a go at making your own cupcake or cake toppers, so either comment that down below or send me a message over on Instagram. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, so hit the like button and definitely remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!